Hi, welcome back to the workshop for a brand new project from the Shed of Dreams. And as you can probably see, I'm wearing my Jurgens merch, which can only mean one thing. It's time for me to start my Jurgs cup build. Now, I am once again, true to form, very late starting this. I was late starting GGBO 2023. I was even later finishing it. I once again missed the deadline and it ran on much longer than I thought it was going to. But it's done. And now we can concentrate on Jurgs Cup. I've only got a short amount of time to build the guitar, but this one isn't going to be anywhere near as complex as the last one, so I'm pretty confident that I can do it. But having said that, I haven't built this type of guitar before, so it is going to be challenging, and I think there is going to be a bit of a learning curve, but I'm pretty confident that I can do it, and I'm pretty confident that we can get it done in time. It's important for me that I do get this done just to honour the memory of Jurgs. He was an absolutely brilliant bloke. I spent a lot of time talking to him, and he was a very loyal supporter of mine when I was starting out on YouTube, and anyone who's ever done any YouTube will know that that is kind of worth its weight in gold. So hopefully this build will honour his memory and hopefully inspire a few people out there to go and buy a bit of timber, pick up some tools and get started in this amazing hobby of ours. Now the theme for this year's competition is use what you've got, and it's basically whatever you've got lying around the workshop is what you've got to work with. Obviously the whole build can't work like that because I haven't got a whole guitar's worth of hardware to work with. However, I have got some bits and I've got plenty of wood, so we'll get down on the bench and we'll see what I've got in mind. Okay, so first up, the hardware. I have got a few bits, and what they are has kind of led me down the route that I'm going to take. Now, years ago, I used to have a lovely candy apple red Fender Jaguar. However, much as I liked it, I couldn't get it to work in the context of the band I was playing at the time, so I let it go, and I've regretted it ever since. So I decided I was going to build another one, and I started gathering bits and pieces for it. So that's what I'm going to use on this build. However, I'm not going to build a Jaguar. But what I've got is, I've got the tremolo unit, and I've got a bridge. So that's going to be the basis of my hardware. The setup I've got in mind will have one volume, one tone, three-way toggle switch, output jack. I'm pretty sure I've got all of those in stock as well, just lying about, left over from other jobs where they haven't got used. So in terms of hardware, I'm probably going to need to buy some frets, some tuners, some pickguard material. I've got material for a nut, and some pickups. I knew there was something else. So there's a fair bit to buy, but not a massive amount. So it should be all good. In terms of material, I've got quite a bit, to be honest, but I don't want to use any fancy wood that I've got knocking around the workshop. I don't think that will be in the spirit of things. But I've got a great big lump of maple. It's not brilliant. It's got a bit of a shake and knots in it and stuff, but there's some very good material up this end. It's bog standard plain maple. There's no figure in it or anything. It's way too thick for what I need, so I can clean this up, thin it down in the planer, and we can get a nice neck blank out of that. For the fingerboard, I've actually got a piece of wood that I've had for absolute donkey's years. It's been knocking around my workshop for must be at least 10 or 12 years. It actually came from John Body Timber. Anyone in the know will understand that they closed down years and years ago. And it is black cabbage bark. I've never used it on anything before. I've got no idea how the wood works. I think it's going to look quite nice. It's quite dark and it's got some kind of interesting figure going on there. It's very hard. Don't know if you can hear that. It is very hard, so I think it should be good for a fretboard, and I think it's long enough because long is going to be a thing on this build. And for the body, well, what I have is a metric ton of this stuff, and this stuff is actually old roof joists from when we had our loft converted a few years ago. So it's old growth pine. This was put into the roof in 1931. So it's nearly 100 years since it was felled. God knows how long since the tree was planted. This looks to be very good quality timber. old growth, close grained pine. A lot of people might be wincing now at the thought of using pine for a guitar body. It didn't stop Leo Fender with a Telecaster. That worked out absolutely fine. And my first ever guitar build, a black Telecaster, was built from very, very similar material to this, and it sounds absolutely amazing. So no worries with that. So that only leaves the question of what am I going to build? What it's going to be is my version of a Fender Bass 6. It's going to be fairly accurate aesthetically. The only difference is going to be that I'm going to put two P90s in instead of the 3 single coil pickups that are in the original. As many of you will know, I absolutely love P90s. So I think it'll be an interesting experiment to put them into a Bass 6. There are some challenges. I haven't got any plans. Haven't been able to get any plans. I don't think plans for this guitar exist. So I've had to think of a way around that, and I'll show you that in a little while. The other one is tuners. I was very unsure of what I was going to do about tuners, whether I needed bass tuners or guitar tuners. So I've bought myself a set of Bass 6 strings as a starting point, and I've got some old tuners. I want to put on these old split post vintage style tuners because that's what appears to be on the originals. So I bought some strings just to see if they'll fit, and this is the Bass E string, and it actually tapers down quite significantly from the full thickness of the string to where it actually goes into the tuner, and it just about goes in there, and it's thin enough that it will go into the split post. So as far as tuners go, I'm going to go for a set of Goto vintage style split post tuners like you would see on an old Strat or something, and I think they'll look absolutely bloody lovely. Other than that, I think it's all fairly straightforward, but as I say, I haven't got any plans. So to show you what I've done with regards to that, we're going to have to jump on the computer and I'll talk you through my process for creating a set. And the first thing we need to do is ensure that the image that we're working on is the right size. So we have to blow it up to full size within the drawing package. And that's done through trial and error, and it's scaled up until known measurements match what's on the drawing. So in this case, I've measured the string spacing at the bridge, which I know is 55 millimeters. From there, I can also measure the scale length from the nut to the bridge, which is 30 inches. And then as an additional check, I know that the body is 14.5 inches at its widest point, so I can measure that as well. All these measurements pretty much check out, so I know we're in the ballpark. And from there, I use the pen tool to just start tracing around the body. I'm not too bothered about it being a smooth curve. I'm just doing it in short straight lines that will give me kind of the basic outline of what I need. And I'll start with the basic outline of the body, and then I'll add details like the pick guard and any hardware that needs to go on, all on separate layers, so these can be printed out separately once we've actually got everything put together. And with those drawings all finished up, the next step would be to simply save out the individual layers as I need them as PDFs, and then I can print those out and use them as templates. Now the good thing about a PDF also is that you can print it in poster mode, so you can tile a larger image over several different pieces of paper, and that is particularly useful when you're doing guitar templates because obviously they're bigger than A4 that most people's printers can handle. So now that I've sorted out the plans, I can have a dig through my collection of parts and we can see if we can find some more bits to put towards this project. And I've had a good rummage and I've found a number of things which will be very helpful. So I've got a couple of pots. These are actually 250K CTS pots. I normally use 500s, but the 250s will work just fine with the P90s. I've got a short throat. I think this is a Switchcraft switch, so it's a nice decent quality switch. Obviously that's a 3-way toggle switch and not the normal kind of multiple switches that the Bass 6 would have as standard, but that will work just fine for me. And I've also got a mono output jack, and I'm pretty confident that that's a Switchcraft as well. It's nice quality, so that's good. I've found a few bits that I'd forgotten I had. So when I was planning my Jaguar build, I bought a couple of these knobs to go on it, and they are very similar to what would have been on the Bass 6 as well, so that's good. I've got some pearl dot markers that will do for the neck just fine. And I've had a couple of deliveries come in the last day or so. I've got a nice sheet of 3-ply tortoise shell pickguard material. I think this is just going to be big enough to do the pickguard. I might have to put it on the skew a little bit, but I think we'll be okay with that. I've got a load of pickguard screws that I had in stock anyway, and I've got a set of Goto machine heads, and I'm going to get one of those out, and we can just double check that that bass string is going to fit them. And if anything, I think that fits better than it fitted in the other one. So that is also a winner. I love these Goto tuners. They are really, really nice quality, and they're not really that expensive. They're probably about £15 more than I would spend on a cheap set. So while kind of a little bit more expense on every component on a guitar will eventually add up and make what could be a fairly cheap guitar into a very expensive one, I think for something like the machine heads, you need something that's good quality, and spending that extra £15 on the machine heads is a really, really good way to invest any extra money that you might have on a build. In terms of what I still need, I need a truss rod, I need some fret wire, I need a pair of pickups. I'm probably going to go with Tone Riders, so that's going to be probably 80 quid for those two, and I need to investigate string tree, whether I need one of those or not. I'm assuming I will. I just need to work out which kind I'm going to need. Strap buttons, a few little bits and pieces, but nothing major. So I think I've probably got 100 quid to spend, and that should get me everything I need, and we're ready to go. So I think this is as good a place as any to leave this episode. I'm going to be back very soon in a couple of days' time with the next one, where we'll start breaking some of the timber down, getting it cleaned up, getting it glued into a body blank, and then we can go from there. So as always, if you've enjoyed this, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe so you're not going to miss out on any of the upcoming episodes, and I'll look forward to seeing you in a few days' time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.